Hey. So, I'm going live in my car today because I was prioritizing going to the osteo. I have some headaches going on, and so I'm living my philosophy of being in pleasure and making it work and running a business, but really prioritizing and maintaining my lifestyle so that I can really show up and hold the space for my clients. So self-care is so important, and what it means is that I'm doing my live from my car today. So hey, and welcome to this, making it all okay. So today we're going to talk about, are you sexually compatible with your partner? Or perhaps there's a fear coming up for you around this. So, hey, my name is Sarah. I'm a women's sexuality coach, and I work with women one on one and also in group programs to start to unpack what makes a healthy relationship, how do they want to feel, how do they reawaken their feminine power, their sensuality, and intimacy so they can lead essentially more fulfilling lives. If you are here watching, make sure you comment below. It's so important to be here live so I can look at your comments and answer your questions in real time. And if you're catching the replay, just hashtag replay below so we and me and the whole community can see that you are in and supportive and watching. So I really want to talk about this because it is a really common fear that shows up for women coming to coach, and sometimes it can be the fear that almost gets in the way of wanting to dive into this journey or get coaching or get further support, because it is super scary to perhaps or potentially confront the situation where you feel like you're not sexually compatible with your partner. And then, of course, well, what would that mean? Would that mean separation, or, what would that look like, or no intimacy, in your situation? So first of all, I really just want to validate your fear. Super common, and the good news is that there are so many other things that we can start to look at before we get to the end conclusion or the assumption that you're not sexually compatible with your partner. So don't fear, there is lots that we can do. The first thing that I want to encourage you to reflect on is, why are you with your partner in the first place? And potentially, was there chemistry or intimacy when you first met? And if there was, then know that there is chemistry, right? There is intimacy somewhere in your relationship, and it might be that it's a little bit buried. And again, that's really normal, especially if you've been in your relationship for a little while. It can be that you start to connect with your partner at the beginning stages of the relationship. There's this quote unquote honeymoon energy, which, look, I think that's a real thing. There's lots of chemical reactions that are going on in your brain when you start to feel love and connection and that intimacy. But I also think that the honeymoon period is something that can last forever, right? As long as you and your partner are willing to prioritize intimacy, then of course, like, definitely you can keep that spark in that relationship. And that passion alive. And I see that in my clients. I have a client right now, 32 years in marriage, and her intimacy is better than what it's ever been. Her connection with her husband is better than what it's ever been. So I call bullshit on this honeymoon period or this idea of this. That's a little bit off topic. But coming back to that initial connection, one good way also to maybe just one indicator, not, this doesn't mean yes or no, but one indicator can be, are you attracted to your partner's smell? So this can be a very primal biological way of just starting to get an idea of are you inherently attracted to your partner? Again, if you don't like their smell, like, no big deal. It doesn't mean that you're definitely not attracted to them. It could mean all kinds of things. It could mean that you've had a situation in the past where you didn't like a certain smell, and then it's produced a belief system or a response in you. But it can be one indicator. So, first of all, just come back to this idea that you're with this partner for a reason, okay? Or you chose to be with this partner for a reason. Second of all, reflect on, has there ever been intimacy or connection or chemistry? Do you like the smell of them? Has there been moments of passion? And if there has been, then I invite you to relax into that and and allow that to give you some reassurance that there is some sexual compatibility. As we go through this journey, what I'll always come back to is assume that you are sexually compatible until it's proven otherwise. Meaning that our brain will have a negativity bias, our brain will look for all the reasons why you're not sexually compatible. But if we can switch that around and start to look at, so why is it that you are compatible? Then if you've already got that immediate mindset focused on that, then it's going to make it way more likely for you to move forward in your journey and be willing to explore how, right? Because then it's no longer about, are we sexually compatible, right? If you just decide that you are and make the assumption that you are, then it becomes about, okay, so how are we going to bring that intimacy back, that spark back into our relationship? And I love what a client said to me a couple of weeks ago. She said, it feels like the spark is coming back into our relationship again. And that's just because they're putting more energy and effort, and she's really getting in touch and owning her own sexual pleasure and her own sexuality journey. So here are some other things that you can start to explore in terms of sexual compatibility. The one thing is to look at the emotional connection. So where are you at in terms of your emotional connection to your partner? Because the emotional layer is what the physical or the sexual gets built on. So usually, not always, but usually, it's pretty difficult to be sexually intimate if there's things going on emotionally that you haven't cleared, or that doesn't feel right in your relationship. And so therefore, really it's nothing to do with whether you're sexually compatible or not. It's more that, as what happens in relationships, there kind of gets like layers and like, you know, experiences or arguments that get layered up on top of your relationship, which kind of creates this pile, which makes it hard to get down to feeling really open and vulnerable and connected, which is just the magic. It's the energy that brings you right towards sexual compatibility or sexual attraction. So one beautiful exercise that I can offer you is something called clearing the glass. And so imagining that there is a glass between you and your partner, and over time things happen, right? You get annoyed at each other, things don't get really processed properly or fully talked out, and so it's like there's mud on the glass. And as like more mud starts to come into the glass, it becomes harder and harder to see each other. And by see each other, I mean it becomes harder and harder to really feel each other. And if you can't see and feel each other, it's going to be really difficult to feel that sexual connection or that sexual spark. So it's a process of where you sit down and you go, okay, like let's clear anything, any debris, any emotional debris that's stuck in our relationship that's stopping us really seeing and feeling each other. Because really, on a basis level, if you look into the eyes of your partner and there is still true love there, you are just going to see the soul or the essence of the person that you've chosen to be with. And that starts to melt down any walls or resistance that you might feel to being sexually compatible with them. The other thing to start to explore is this idea of, cool, like who's maybe holding the resistance here? Is it you? Is it your partner? Is it the dynamic between both of you? So again, the good news is that you can work with all of it. There was a client that I was working with, and she was like, oh, I'm really unsure about whether we're sexually compatible, or whether I have sexual drive, right? Or whether I want to be with my partner. And actually what she started to reveal was that it wasn't so much about that. It was more that she felt disconnected from her own sexuality or her own awakening, her own feminine awakening, sensuality, beautiful journey. So absolutely, if you have any doubts about whether you could expand more into your sexuality, then I encourage you to go on that journey, right? I have lots of practices online. I have a free course, 7 Days to Sexy. I have multiple masterclasses that are free that you can dive into right now to start to awaken the juices of your own internal journey. And not only is this incredible for assessing whether you're sexually compatible to your partner, but also it is incredibly empowering for you. There is not a day that goes by that I am disappointed that I went on this journey. It has awakened so many different parts of me and what I see in my clients as well. So I highly encourage you to go on this journey, not only for your relationship, but for you in your feminine essence and in your feminine power, right? There's also a possibility that it could be that your partner has blocks. Again, super common and understandable. And so if your partner has a block, I mean, you can't force them to go on their own sexuality journey, right? If they're open to that, then that's beautiful and amazing. But what you can do is lead the way. So if this is something that's really important to you, then, and your partner's not fully on board, I'm going to suggest to you that you go on your own journey, right? You start to feel this inspiration, this power, this energy, because when you awaken this sexual energy and power inside of you, your partner is going to start to kind of like look over the fence and be like, hey, like what's going on over there? Like, what's she up to? Maybe there's something in this. Like, you know, because we get influenced by one another. So when our partner's expanding and growing in such a beautiful way, generally the other partner is going to be like, okay, well, I kind of want to see that, or I want a piece of that, right? Or maybe they get inspired that you're willing to lean in and do the work, and so they are like, okay, I'm willing to do the work. Had another beautiful example of a woman who came to me who wanted more intimacy in her relationship, and then her partner was like, okay, cool, I'm open to couples coaching. And then actually what ended up happening is I'm working with him on his own, right, to awaken and develop the connection and openness and the communication and trust within himself so he can bring that to his marriage. So what a beautiful example of, you know, it was initiated by the woman in the relationship, but now I'm working with the male, and that's going to have such a dramatic impact on their marriage. So yeah, really beautiful. If your partner is willing and is on board and is like, yeah, I really do want intimacy back in our relationship, and so how can we do this? I recommend couples intimacy coaching, right? Or getting books out from the library, looking into Tantra, looking online, looking at practices, trying something different in the bedroom, having the conversation, right? Often, one of the biggest blocks into intimacy is not feeling comfortable to talk about intimacy or what you want. So it can be that you are sexually compatible, but you just haven't had the conversation about actually what you want. Again, another client started to have that conversation and started to realize, oh my God, we've been married for how many years and I still don't know fully what you want. And I still haven't communicated fully what I want. Yeah, I can actually think of 2 clients in that situation, and they're like, whoa, why, how have we never talked about this before? And it's just common because it's so taboo. And it's not often that we sit down and go, okay, well, tell me what it is that you really like. You know, it can feel awkward for so many reasons. So the overall sum up of this, like, are you sexually compatible with your partner? The first of all is validate your fear, but know that those thoughts or that belief is not necessarily true. Okay, like your brain will make up so many stories. Your brain will try and find so much evidence to tell you that that you're not sexually compatible, that you're going to have to split up, that this is the end of the relationship. It might be. It might totally not be. Okay, so don't believe your brain and don't believe your fears, but validate them and acknowledge them. And then the second thing is start to ask some questions about the different areas of your relationship that could be undermining your sexual connection. Because really, the sexual compatibility or sexual attraction is often just kind of the symptom or the last thing to, like, that's on top of a real foundation and base of trust and emotional connection and compatibility in so many other ways. And this is really important, you know, like I hear from clients, I deeply love my husband or I deeply love my partner, but we just don't have intimacy. And it's like, okay, well, that's so good that your relationship has so much love and trust already, because that is setting an incredible foundation for what you can have, especially when you lean into this process. Even better if your partner wants to come with you, but if they're not ready yet, then lead the way, right? And start to ask yourself these questions of, okay, where are we at emotionally in our relationship? Where am I at in my sexuality? Where is my partner at in their sexuality? What is the dynamic in our relationship? And as you start to unpack these questions, I really highly recommend support around this, because if your relationship is really that important to you and you're kind of looking at if this is going to mean intimacy between you or not, or potentially even a divorce or a splitting up, this is really important, right? So get some support around this. You don't have to do this alone. And really, if you think about it, like, what is your connection with this other human, or the success, the beauty of your relationship worth to you? Like, if you're going to go all in on something, or you're really going to see if it's possible, you want to know that you've done everything that you possibly could have, so you don't leave this relationship thinking like, oh, what if, right? Or feeling unsatisfied in the relationship and feeling a bit resentful. So get some support. I'm here for you one-on-one. I offer couples intimacy coaching and women's specific sexuality coaching and feminine empowerment work. And I do actually work with males as well. I don't really advertise it, but I'm working with a male at the moment, and he's my third male coaching client, to really awaken emotions, the emotional body, and opening up to that connection love. It's all the same. We're all human. We all have blocks around communication, connection, intimacy, and learning the tools to work through that will be an absolute game changer. Not just for you now, but in the relationship you're in, and also in the rest of your life. Right? How this is going to impact how you show up in your workplace, or with your children, with your friends, with your family. Like, these are foundational skills that don't get taught usually, right? Unless you had incredible parents, which a lot of us don't have that amazing role model in our lives. So I have one, maybe two one-on-one coaching spots left for right now. You can also look at going on the wait list for the beginning of 2023. And yeah, I invite you to really lean into this and feel a sense of relief that it doesn't have to mean you're not sexually compatible. All right, let me know what resonated for you here. Drop it in the comments below. Do you still have questions? Make sure you keep turning up live 12 p.m. Wednesdays New Zealand time, so that I can coach you live. It's so valuable. People pay so much money for this, so make sure you get in there and you drop your comments in real time so I can coach you on the spot. All right, lots of love.